welcome to the channel and welcome to the second episode in my Grimdark Future solo play campaign. If you haven't seen episode 1 yet, please go and check it out. Otherwise there will be spoilers, because the story so far: the planet of Novus Cestrensis has come under attack from an Orc invasion. The Orc battlecruiser orbited the planet, laying waste to the major population centres, and then started dropping ground troops onto the northern continent of Novus Cestrensis Prime. The Orcs suffered heavy casualties from the HDF defence forces, but the Orcs were still able to overwhelm the initial defence lines of the HDF, who have been forced to pull back to their secondary positions. And now the action shifts to the southern hemisphere, to the continent of Novus Cestrensis Secundus, specifically to a mining camp in an area known as Delver's Creek. Reports from the security services have reached High Command that unidentified forces have been closing on the position. Now, their reports were very fragmented and were cut off partway through transmission, but the information received by High Command indicates discrepancies and inconsistencies with standard Orc equipment and tactics. And the reason for that is these are no Orcs. These are Havoc brothers, specifically disciples of the Plague God, who have been alerted to the situation on the planet by their cultists embedded within the population. The Plague disciples are launching a raid of opportunity, taking advantage of the situation and the chaos on the planet to make a lightning strike in an attempt to grab some badly needed supplies. However, as they approach the mining facility, not all is as it seems with the mining workforce. Here we have the forces being led by Lord Cankerous. He is a Plague champion. He's been upgraded with a great scythe and destroyer armour. To his right, our left, are the Touched, Plague mutated brothers. Behind them are the Faithful, the unit of Plague cultists that alerted Lord Cankerous to the situation on Novus Cestrensis, and next to them are the Determined, a unit of 5 Plague brothers, and in there we've got a great scythe, a Plague launcher, and the other 3 are armed with heavy rifles and close combat weapons. That's a total of 750 points, and as mentioned, as they approach the mining colony, they realise that not all is as it seems with the mining workforce. As Lord Cankerous and his units approach the mining colony, they sense sorcery in the air, and they hear chittering and susurrating in the shadows, and they realise that the mining colony is actually the seat of a Soul Snatcher cult. The Soul Snatcher cult is being led by Archmage Karlov. He is a cult leader who is obviously a psychic. He will be deployed with a unit of 5 neophytes, the Blessed Initiates. They are armed with 4 rifles and a mining laser. Next to them is a unit of acolytes, the Blessed Sons. In there we've got 2 heavy cutters, 2 flamethrower pistols and a regular pistol. Behind them we have the Holy Ones, a unit of 5 Soul Snatchers, and then finally the one and only vehicle we've had in the campaign so far, Grinder Truck Gamma 4, which is obviously a grinder truck with a heavy mining laser. And that is 750 points of Soul Snatcher cults. Okay, we're set up, and I'll quickly talk you through the objectives. We've got 4 objectives which we'll roll for, D3 plus 2, and we've got 4, and these were placed completely impartially, not by me, so I got my son to place them for me. We've got over on the left towards the centre, vertically if you like, across the table, towards the centre long line of the table, we've got objective 3. We've got objective 1 over near that compound. We've got objective 2 near the control panel for this pumping station type piece of terrain, and then we've got objective 4 up on that gantry. Now then, the Soul Snatcher cults won the roll off for deployment, and straight away we ran into something interesting, because everything except the grinder truck in the Soul Snatcher cults, that's quite a mouthful, has got the scout ability. So I had to put the truck down and then wait for everything from the Plague Disciples to deploy before I could deploy anything else for the Soul Snatcher cults. Although I did deploy the Acolytes in the truck as well. So yeah, that's the truck. For the Plague Disciples, we've got the mutated brothers over here on the left flank, getting ready to head towards Objective 3. We've got the cultists in the centre, huddled up on this crater to get some cover. We've got the regular Plague Brothers over here getting ready to go forward onto that objective and claim it, and Lord Cankerous himself, courtesy of his destroyer armour, is currently in ambush. And then for the remaining Soul Snatcher cults units, got to be really careful how I say that, the Soul Snatchers were deployed by that gateway and then immediately scampered forwards towards Objective 3. The Arch Magos and his bodyguard deployed on the edge of that compound and then immediately scamper forward onto that objective. And as I say, they won the roll-off, so they will get the first activation in the first turn. And a quick note about scenery, because someone is bound to ask me about scenery, because I regularly get questions about my scenery. The game mat is from gamemat.eu. The buildings, some of them are from Mantic, and the vast majority of everything else is built by myself. Some of the what are those barrels? Some of the barrels come from March of War, but yeah, everything else is pretty much made by me, from Pringles tubes and bits of drain pipe from B&Q. Yeah, so that's the scenery. Right, going into turn 1. Before we do that, we need to see what secret missions are for both armies. Special objective for the Soul Snatcher cults. Number 4 is recovery. Be the first player to recover a unit from pinned. Okay. And the special objective for the Plague Disciples. 3. Casting. At least one attempt to cast or block spells per round. Can't do that because they don't have a psychic, so I need to re-roll. That would have been good if we'd have done it the other way around, really, wouldn't it? 3. Already had 3. 2. Honour. No enemy units in your own deployment zone at the end of the battle. Okay. Start of turn 1, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? Nope. First activation for the Soul Snatcher cults. The Psychic is going to try and cast Hypnosis. That's ordinarily a 5+, but because he's Psychic 1, it'll go off on a 4+. And that's a 4. So he can now choose 2 friendly units within 12 inches of himself. So he's going to simply choose his own unit, and they get +1 to their defense rolls next time they are attacked. And now they are going to advance as close as they can towards this piece of terrain, while still keeping somebody within 3 inches of objective 1, so that they capture it at the end of the turn. So having moved, 2 of the neophytes can see the enemy cultists with their rifles, so they are going to shoot. The plague cultists will get the benefit of cover, so these are going to hit on 6s. I made a mistake here. I assumed that, like the plague cultists and also like the typical human defense forces troopers, that these guys were quality 5+. They're not, they're quality 4+, so they should have been hitting on 5s and not 6s. And both miss. So that should actually have been 1 hit. The plague cultists have advanced, and they're going to shoot in at the Soul Snatchers. Now, I omitted to say during the army introduction that one of those cultists has got a machine gun. One of the regular riflemen is out of range, but all of the rest of the weapons have got the same profile, so there's no AP or anything like that. So this is going to be 8 rifles, 3 machine gun shots, 11 dice in total, hitting on 5s. Ooh. 4 hits, 6 is nothing special. Soul Snatchers are defense 4 up. That's 3 saves, so one of them will die. Grinder truck has rushed forwards. It is fast, so it gets an extra 4 inches to its rush move, and it's trying to get into a better strategic position, tactical position, and also to enable those acolytes to be able to get out and head towards objective 4. The mutated brothers have rushed forwards. Again, they are fast, so they get extra move to their rush moves. Not quite enough movement to get them into contact with the soul snatchers for some melee, but one of them did have enough move to get up that ladder and is now contesting objective 3. With a snarl, the soul snatchers have charged the mutated brothers. There's 4 of them left. They get 3 attacks each. They'll be hitting on 3s. So that was 6 regular hits and 2 rending hits, which is quite important against Plague because Plague brothers have all got regeneration and rending ignores regeneration. So we'll do the 2 regenerating hits we'll do the 2 rending hits first. So these will be natural 6s to save because ordinarily they're 3+. And one is a save and one doesn't. So that's 1 dead Marine. Plague Brother rather. You'll notice that I remembered to pile them Plague Brothers in at the start of the combat. And then 6 regular saves, AP 1, so these will be 4+. That's 2 fails. But these can regenerate on 5+. 1 regenerates, so 1 more Plague Brother, mutated Plague Brother falls. The mutated brothers now get a chance to fight back. There's 3 of them. They get 2 attacks each, so that'll be 6 attacks. But before they attack, they have mutations. So roll a d6, and on a 4 to 6, they get AP 1 for these attacks. If it had been 1 to 3, they'd have got rending instead. So this is going to be 6 attacks hitting on 3s at AP 1. So that is 2 misses, 4 go through. At AP 1, these will be 5-up saves. That's only 1 save, so 3 more Soul Snatchers get taken down. Now the Soul Snatchers lost that melee. They inflicted 2 wounds, whereas the mutated Plague Brothers inflicted 3. So they now need to take a morale test on a 3+, and that is a success, that's a pass. They are the charging unit, so they have to withdraw an inch, and a good brutal combat there between 2 bestial foes. The only unit left for the Plague Brothers is the unit of Plague Brothers, and they have simply advanced, and by that I mean they reposition themselves slightly to make sure that they are capturing that objective and preparing to move out to join the fray in the next turn. Finally, for the Soul Snatcher cult, the acolytes have disembarked from the grinder truck, and because of that they can only move a maximum of 6 inches, but they are heading towards a ladder which will enable them to get to objective 4. So at the end of turn 1, objective 3 is contested. Objective 1 is held by the Soul Snatcher cult. Objective 2 is held by the Plague Brothers. And objective 4 is currently unclaimed. There were some casualties inflicted on the Soul Snatchers. They've got 1 surviving member of that unit, but everybody else seems to be intact. As we go into turn 2, the Plague Brothers will get the first activation because they finished activating first in the first turn. At the start of turn 2, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? Nope. You'll notice that Lord Cankerous has not come in from ambush on this turn, but over to the first activation for the Plague Disciples, the Plague Mutated Brothers are going to charge the last remaining Soul Snatcher, and I'm going to take a little bit of artistic license with this. The 2 that are currently on the deck are going to charge up the other ladder and come in behind the Soul Snatcher, which technically you're not supposed to do, but yeah, we'll do it just for the sake of artistic license. In the end, I only sent 1 up the ladder. I think in reality, if this was real, obviously one of them would go up the other ladder if it meant he could get to his objective. In this case, literally the objective. Before they attack, we roll to see what their mutations are. So again, it's AP1, because it's a 6. On a 4 to 6 they get AP1, on a 1 to 3 they get rending. There's 6 attacks. These will hit on 3s. And that is only 1 miss. 6s are nothing special because we didn't get the rending. So these will be 5 up saves. And that's 2 successes, but the other 3 will go through and finish off the last Soul Snatcher. And then the mutated Plague Brothers can consolidate onto that objective. Next to activate for the Soul Snatcher cults, Archmage Karlov and his retinue are going to advance around the corner to begin with. Then he's going to cast a psychic spell and then open fire on the Plague cultists. First of all, Karlov is going to try and cast Mind Poison, which is ordinarily a 4+, but because he's Psychic 1, this will be a 3+. And that's a 4. You pick a target unit within 12 inches, so that will be the Plague Cultists, and they take 3 hits at AP1, so they'll need 6s to save. None of those save. But they do have regeneration, so on 5s they can ignore those wounds. And none of them regenerate, so that's 4 dead cultists. Sorry, 3 dead cultists. So now Karlov is going to fire his pistol in at them. There's 4 rifles that we're also going to shoot at them. They'll be hitting on 4s. I think in the first turn when these guys fired I got their quality wrong, but they are quality 4+, not 5+. So 5 shots hitting on 4s. 3 hits. Saving on 5s because there's no AP. None. Do they regenerate? 1 regenerates, so 2 more die. And then finally the mining laser hitting on a 4 with 1 shot. Definitely hits. AP3, deadly 3, so we need a 6 to save. That's not. And that's 3 wounds, so technically it'll be 3 wounds on 1 model, so I believe he needs to make 3 regeneration rolls and pass all 3 of them, otherwise 1 more will die. Nope, that's another dead Plague Cultist. Plague Cultists now need to make a morale test because they're less than half strength. There's only 4 of them left out of the 10, and they are quality 5+. And that's a pass, so they do not become wavering. The Plague Disciples in response are going to advance into that building and fire on those neophytes. This will be 6 shots hitting on 5s, 3 shots from the machine gun and 3 each from the 3 rifles. That's 2 hits, statistically accurate. 5s to save. 1 save, so 1 of the neophytes will die. The acolytes are going to rush to the bottom of that ladder, up the ladder, and head for objective 4. I'm assuming this is all okay in terms of vertical coherency. I think it makes sense because I don't think you can stop part way up a ladder. Again, I can't see any rules that says you can or you can't, but yeah, for now I'm just going to say they can. Somebody in the background is letting off some fireworks. I don't know if you can hear it, but it might just simply provide some ambient noise. The Plague Brothers have advanced to the edge of this silo, and they're going to shoot at the acolytes. Now there's only the plague launcher and 1 of the regular brothers can actually see the target. They can see pretty much everybody in the unit though, so I'm not going to give them the benefit of cover. And again, read your rules because blast ignores cover. I think I missed that in the first game. So the plague launcher is going to fire first. It's 1 shot which will hit on a 3. That's a miss. And then 1 heavy rifle is also a miss. The grinder truck has advanced. It's going to fire at the remaining plague cultists. sheltering in that building. There's a heavy machine gun, which is 3 shots. Ordinarily hitting on 4s, but hitting on 5s because of cover. That's 1 hit. AP1, so this will be a 6-up save. No. Does it regenerate? Yes. And then 1 shot from the heavy mining laser. Hits on a 5. Nope, misses. And that will be the end of turn 2. So at the end of turn 2, there are 2 objectives apiece at the moment. The Plague Brothers hold objective 2 in here, and objective 3 over on the opposite flank. The Soul Snatchers hold objective 1 and objective 4. The Soul Snatcher cult has lost their Soul Snatchers unit, and the Plague Brothers have lost several of their cultists. But other than that, oh yeah, we also lost a couple of the mutated Plague Brothers in the first turn. I forgot about that at the end of turn 1. But yes, as we go into turn 3, again the Plague Brothers will get the first activation because they finished activating first in turn 2. Now then, will Lord Cankerous put in an appearance? At the start of turn 3, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? Nope. Lord Cankerous has indeed come in from ambush. He's come in behind the truck, and he's now going to activate first and charge the truck. He gets 2 attacks with his great scythe, hitting on 3s. Both hit. 6s are nothing special. These are AP4, so this is going to need 6s to save from the truck. Neither one saves, and these are deadly 3 each. So that truck is destroyed because it's only tough 6. And yeah, apparently that's how you take out a truck. Archmage Karlov's unit are going to slightly reposition so that they can all fire in on those remaining cultists at point blank range. First of all, he's going to try and cast Mind Poison again on a 3+. That fails to cast. Shot from the mining laser will hit on a 5+ because of cover. That's a miss. And then Karlov's pistol and the 3 rifles hitting on 5s. They all miss as well. I'll be honest, after how they performed in the previous turn, I expected those cultists to be dead. The Plague Brothers are going to advance and then fire on the acolytes. Starting things off with the Plague Launcher. 1 shot hitting on a 3. That's a hit, and it's a 6. Now ordinarily these are blast 3, so any hits become 3 hits as long as there's at least 3 in the unit. But 6 is also poison, so that's an extra 3 hits, because otherwise there's not a lot of point in it being blast 3 and poison. You may as well just make it blast 3. So 6 hits in total. There's no AP on these. This will be 5-up saves. 6 needed. Two made, so 4 of them will die, and 3 heavy rifle shots. Now at the time the shots were made, because they all happened simultaneously, less than half the unit was in cover, so I'm going to say they don't get the benefit of cover. So these will hit on 3s. 2 hits. These are AP1, so I need 2 6s or that unit of acolytes is wiped out. Nope. Plague cultists are going to shoot at the neophytes and Archmage Karlov. 6 shots hitting on 5s. 1 hit. 5-up save. That's cocked. Probably would have been a 3. But definitely not a 1. Either way, it's a fail. So one of the neophytes dies. And finally, the Plague Mutated Brothers have rushed down from objective 3 heading towards objective 1. They are fast, so they've just about got enough movement to get them onto the next objective in the next turn. Well, that was turn 3. What can I say except carnage happened. Yeah, when I dropped this guy in to charge the truck, I thought he might get one hit through, which would probably be enough to pin the truck. I wasn't necessarily expecting to destroy it. I knew it was a possibility, but I figured at least one of the hits would miss, and possibly one of the saves might have been saved. But yeah. Okay. It's still technically a draw at this present moment in time. 2 objectives apiece being held by each side, but the Soul Snatcher cults have only got 1 unit left. I did expect those plague cultists to be dead. After the way that Karlov and his unit performed in the previous turn, I thought, yeah, there would not be any cultists left. But anyway, that was turn 3. As we go into turn 4, what is left of the Soul Snatcher cults will get the first activation, because they finished activating first in the first turn, because they pretty much got wiped out. At the start of the 4th and final turn, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? No. So the Soul Snatcher cults are going to activate first, and right now their biggest threat are those plague mutated brothers, because they have got sufficient movement, those plague mutants, to get onto objective 1 towards the bottom left of the screen. And if they do that, it will be a win for the plague disciples. At the moment it's a draw, 2 objectives each, so Karlov and his retinue really need to be heading back that way and putting some fire into those mutated plague brothers. So they've advanced, and as per previous turns, Karlov is going to try and cast Mind Poison, which will go off on a 3+. That is a 3. So that's 3 hits at AP1. 4's needed to save. All 3 fail on a 1, a 2 and a 3. Do they regenerate them on 5+? 1 regenerates, so 2 of the Plague Brothers die, mutated Plague Brothers die. And then he's going to see if he can finish off the last one with his pistol. 1 shot hitting on a 4. Hits. This will be a 3-up save. That's a fail. Does it regenerate on a 5+? No. So Karlov does indeed finish off those 3 plague mutated brothers single-handedly. The remaining plague cultists have come out of the building and are going to shoot in at the neophytes and Karlov. So as previously, 6 shots hitting on 5s. 2 hits. 5-up saves. That's 1 save, 1 fail. So now Karlov and his retinue are at half their starting strength, so they need to take a morale test. This will be a 4+. Now it's a 3. So they are now pinned, but that's kind of academic. I was going to say it's academic because the game is effectively over, because it's a 2 objective draw at the moment, and Lord Cankerous can't get close enough to objective 4, the Determined can't get close enough to objective 4, and these guys were never going to be able to get to objective 1, which is why they just simply popped out and shot. So it was going to end in a draw. However, I've just discovered what happens if there's a draw. The rules say for the campaign, after 4 turns, if there's no clear winner, you play a 5th turn. So we are going to carry on with turn 4, which means these guys are basically going to leg it towards objective number 4. Thusly, so the Determined should be able to rush up and get to objective 4 on the next turn. Lord Cankerous probably can't, because throughout this I've treated it that you've got to go around and up this ladder over here. And in the next turn, Karlov isn't going to be able to do anything because he's pinned. But it does mean that they get a chance to achieve their secret mission, which is be the first unit to recover from a pin. But that is the end of turn 4. We will have to go into turn 5, and Karlov will get to activate first because they finished activating first in the previous turn. And I don't know if I've got a card thing to scroll across the screen for turn 5, because you normally only play 4 turns in this game. I'll have to check. Turns out I didn't have a turn 5 card, so I quickly made one. At the start of turn 5, is there going to be a random event on a 5+? No. So as mentioned, Karlov gets to activate first, and all he can simply do is unpin himself and his unit. But as I say, that does now mean that they achieve their special objective because they are the first side to recover from a pin. The Determined have rushed up that ladder onto this platform and are now capturing objective 4. Lord Cankerous is rushing towards Karlov but isn't going to get there in time, and the remnants of the Faithful have advanced slightly and are going to try and finish off Karlov and his retinue. It is theoretically possible. Everything would have to, they can afford to miss once and then all of the saves have to fail. 6 shots, hitting on 5s. That's only 3 hits. Saving on 5s. 1 save. So the last 2 neophytes will die. Karlov will have to take another morale check, which passes. I did contemplate just rushing them down onto objective 1, but there was no point in doing that because now the Plague Brothers are in control of 3 objectives, so they have got the win. And in terms of the campaign, I think it was more important to try and go for some experience for killing an enemy unit. But that is now the end of the game. There is a clear winner. The Plague Brothers have got 3 objectives. The Soul Snatcher cults have only got 1. So the Plague Brothers were victorious. They get 2 victory points for the campaign. They get 50 points to spend on reinforcements, and they completed their special objective as well. They had no enemy units within their deployment zone, so they get an extra 50 credits, 50 points to spend on reinforcements. The Soul Snatcher cults lost the battle, so they get no victory points, but they do get 150 points to spend on reinforcements, and they also completed their special objective, be the first side to recover from a pin, so they get an extra 50 points to spend on reinforcements, giving them 200 points to spend on reinforcements. Recovering casualties, starting with the Plague Brothers. We've got to roll for the Plague Mutated Brothers and also the Plague Cultists, because the Cultists were reduced to below half strength, so we need to roll for them as well. So the first roll will be for the Plague Mutated Brothers, and they're good, they fully recover. And now the Cultists, they fully recover too. For the Soul Snatcher cults, it's almost the entire army. Now, even though Karlov deployed with the neophytes, I'm not going to roll for him, because I'm going to say that he survived the battle, because he did. But the neophytes obviously didn't. So we'll roll for the neophytes. 2, so they recover in full. Grinder Truck Gamma 4 recovers in full. The Soul Snatchers, the Holy Ones, they recover with a point of XP. And finally, the Acolytes, they recover in full. While we've got these guys on screen, we'll go through their experience. So, Archmage Karlov, even though the unit he was deployed with was destroyed, he survived, so I'm going to give him an experience point for that. He was also responsible for killing the Mutant Brothers, pretty much single-handedly, but I'll come to that in a second. So he gets 2 XP. The Blessed Initiates, the Neophytes, I'm going to give them an experience point for killing the Mutant Brothers as well, because it's only by virtue of the fact that I rolled Karlov's pistol first that finished off the Mutant Brothers. In theory, the firearms from the Neophytes were going in at the same time, so similarly to what we decided in the first game, I'm going to give them a point of experience as well, because technically their unit did destroy the unit. The Holy Ones, the Soul Snatchers, they recovered from being injured, so they also get an experience point. But Grinder Truck Gamma 4 and the Blessed Sons, the Acolytes, they don't get any experience points because they didn't kill any units and they didn't survive the mission. Experience for the Plague Disciples. Lord Cankerous gets 2 XP, one for destroying the grinder truck and one for surviving the battle. The Determined, the Plague Brothers, they get 2 XP, one for killing the Acolytes and one for surviving the battle. The Touched, the Plague Mutator Brothers, they get 1 XP for killing the Soul Snatchers. And finally, the Faithful, even though we rolled for their recovery, technically they survived the battle, so they'll get 1 XP for surviving the battle. None of the units that took part have got enough XP to level up. So step 5, I'm not upgrading any existing units in the Soul Snatcher cults, but at step 6 I am going to reinforce them with a unit of minion bikers. They're equipped with shotguns and one of them has got a heavy hammer, and that will leave them 75 points in the bank. And the Plague Disciples are not doing anything. I'm not going to give any existing units any upgrades. I'm not going to purchase any more units because I've got 100 points to play with, and 100 points in Plague Disciples doesn't get you much. I contemplated getting a Plague Champion Sorcerer, which might come in handy, but 100 credits could go a long way to boosting whatever comes from the next battle and get them something a bit better. So these are the 4 factions that will be involved with the battle for Novus Cestrensis. So we saw the Orcs and the HDF in the first episode, and we've now been introduced to the second group of factions, which are the Plague Disciples and the Soul Snatcher cults. The way I'm going to do the campaign is it's effectively going to be a round robin. Everybody is going to fight everybody else, and at the moment that means there's going to be 3 rounds, so effectively 6 battles. And what I might do is double that, so everybody fights everybody else twice, depending on how bored I get. And at the end of that, whoever's got the most victory points wins. At the moment, the Orcs have got 2 victory points, the Plague Disciples have got 2 victory points, the HDF have got 1 victory point because they achieved that random event in the first game, and the Soul Snatcher cults have got 0. So please join me next time to see what befalls in the fate of Novus Cestrensis. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Please continue to like, comment and subscribe, and God bless.